Hey, this is Scott Garibay, and I just want to celebrate with you the victory of Vivek Ramaswamy, absolutely destroying virtually all foes in um, Republican Debate 3. And I want to talk about how Vivek Ramaswamy did specifically against Tim Scott. And if Tim Scott was able to land any strong lines that helped him gain ground to catch up to Vivek Ramaswamy. So let's discuss that. So, first of all, I just want to talk about Tim Scott openly. He is a great candidate. He has charisma. Okay. Now that charisma is dented by his southernness. And I think even 50 years ago, in the North, we Yankees, I'm a Yankee, right? We had like a love for like Southern culture, and we had a respect for it, that I think is warranted, right? But that has completely evaporated, and Scott just really comes off as an old Southern gentleman at this point, and I don't think it's helping him. It's not a shtick; it's genuine. He genuinely is like just, and not, you know what, I don't want to use old because he's really, because we there is a real problem with age on the Trump side and on the Biden side. Tim Scott does not have an age problem. He's coming across as a Southern gentleman, and it reads 1880s, not 2023, right? Like, his cadence is slow because, to us it sounds slow. To a Yankee, we talk fast, right? And so I really think it's hurting him. It genuinely hurts his charisma, because I think he's a charismatic guy, but his charisma is seriously dented. It looks marred from his southernness, right? And I think it's terrible that it should be like this, because I know a lot of people get rid of their accents now so they can be more accepted. But I do just think his like marinated southernness is a major problem. And I think Southerners love it, but you got to win all the states, right? And it's a real turnoff to Yankees, I think. And I think it makes him unelectable as president, right? I really like him though. I think he's a genuine, actual Christian, right? And I would love to see an evangelical Christian become president, but I think it's impossible. And the reason why, there's a whole host of reasons why. And I want to stay focused on this video, but I think he's a genuine Christian. Um, and Tim Scott he's a fantastic candidate and a really great man, but I think he's completely unelectable. Let's also talk about this. Um, I don't think he's running for president. I don't think Tim Scott is running for president. I think Tim Scott has one fate. Donald Trump, I think he thinks that he will live through 2020 to 2024, that his body will endure another term. I don't think that's true. I think electing President Biden or President Trump is a failed experiment. We just saw Dianne Feinstein with a much less stressful job literally fall in a coffin, right? Like, it's what happened. It's the fact of it, right? And this job is going to be way more stressful. And the idea that you could have an 84-year-old president, there's no evidence, zero evidence to point that as being a possibility. It's never happened, right? This is an experiment that we're running, and if you're looking at how the experiment's working with Biden, it ain't working out real well, right? And with us just seeing Dianne Feinstein literally fall into a coffin, killed by her work, right? Is unwise, right? So the reality is, but President Trump thinks he would live through the next 4 years. I don't think that's true. I think his age would take him, and I think Biden's age would take him because of the pressures of the job. I think the presidency will kill anyone over the age of 80, right? But President Trump doesn't believe that, right? And President Trump's still trying to win, and I'll tell you right now, ain't nothing he could do to give himself a better chance of winning than to take Tim Scott as his VP. And I think Tim Scott knows that. And I think Tim Scott is not running for president, in my humble opinion. He is running for VP. Okay, he's running to be Trump's VP, and it is a lock, right? A lock for 20 points for Trump. If he takes Tim Scott, there's nobody better in the nation he could take as his VP than Tim Scott. It would be legit, right? The best move for him to do. What did Tim Scott say tonight that gave him any ground toward beating Vivek Ramaswamy? Because that's who's going to take it. This is the third. Like, look at this. All right, this is the third debate, right? Look what's happened. Asa Hutchinson out after round one. After round two, Vivek Ramaswamy defeated Ace Hutchinson, kicked him right out of the debate. Just you're gone, buddy. Vivek Ramaswamy took out Mike Pence, took out Doug Burgum, right, and all his buffaloes, right. And now like Vivek Ramaswamy just keeps shuffling off these candidates, right? Who's next? Chris. Oh, let's get into this. Chris Christie. So I have done. I did an overall video for third debate. I did a video talking about Vivek versus Haley. I did a video about Vivek versus DeSantis, and I'm doing a video right now about Vivek versus Tim Scott. So are you expecting a Vivek versus Chris Christie video? You ain't going to get it. He's a waste of space. He's the next one out. He does not matter. He's the next Asa Hutchinson. He's the next Mike Pence. He's the next Doug Burgum. He's the guy that wasted space, wasted breath, wasted time, and should not have been in that debate, in my humble opinion. Chris Christie is nothing. He's done. Like, I've never met anybody who supports him. No one, right? Literally. And I live 2 centimeters from New Jersey, right? So like, yeah. So that's my take. All right. What did Tim Scott say to gain any ground on Vivek Ramaswamy? First of all, he said he would protect Social Security. That was very smart. Very smart. In fact, and very smart, right? Not courageous, right? Because it's the easiest way in the world to get votes, right? Like just, oh, hey, old people, I know you vote like crazy. Here's a promise, right? But one thing that was interesting was Chris Christie actually said, "What I'll do is I'll destroy Social Security for everybody who's 30 and younger. So you guys don't need to worry about it. I'll protect your Social Security. I'll just destroy it for all the young people." That is straight up villainy. That was the worst line of the night. And actually, that was the worst line of the night by far, right? Oh, except for I'm sorry, it was the second worst. Worst line of the night was when Nikki Haley said to Vivek Ramaswamy straight up, "You're just scum." That does not belong in political debate. That's a bridge too far, right? Out of control on her emotions, and I think she went too far, without a doubt. And I think the world's going to see that when she went too far too. That's not appropriate. That's bringing Donald Trump's straight up villainy right into the debates, and we've been blessedly free of that, right? So like that's not cool, right? Okay. But when he said protect Social Security, that was a very smart move to gain votes and gain traction. One of the best lines of the night. It was Tim Scott said, "We need to stop kneeling in protest and start kneeling in prayer." Dog whistle of evangelicals, fantastic language, fantastic imagery, very powerful line that allowed him to gain ground against Vivek Ramaswamy. Overall, I think Tim Scott gained about 15 yards to the 100 that, if he started 100 yards behind at the beginning of this debate, and I think he gained 15 yards toward Vivek Ramaswamy, which means he's still 85 yards back. And I did want to talk about one misplay that I think that one misplay that Tim Scott did, where Vivek was able to gain additional ground. Vivek is genuinely in support of pro-life, right? And what really astounded me was Nikki Haley and Tim Scott both were like, "Hey, guess what we are? We're not pro-life, we're pro-choice." Tim Scott was like, "We can all agree on a 15-week federal ban, right? We can all agree on a 15-week federal ban. You're just pro-choice. You're saying, hey, I'm all for abortion. I just want you to wait 15 weeks. That's outrageous, right? Like, so Tim Scott, did you forget that you're an evangelical Christian? Did you forget that you're that you're running on Republican side? We're pro-life, right? Republicans are pro-life. And yes, we are losing votes. But we have to make a stand. And this is definitely the hill to make a stand on, right? So I think that was terrible. I don't think it invalidates him as a Christian. I know he's being practical from a political stance, and I don't think, and Jesus died for sin. So I think it was a sin for him to take this stance, right? but Jesus died for sin. Tim Scott's gonna be in heaven with me. I'm very convinced of that, right? He's a Christian. But he definitely took the wrong take there. That is the wrong take, right? Okay. Yeah, and that's it. So I think Tim Scott had a very strong showing. Vivek defeated him, but Tim Scott did have a very strong showing. And I will say this: I you know I love Vivek Ramaswamy as a candidate, as a person, right? I really like Tim Scott. He's a great guy. I feel bad that I really think the only thing that if he didn't have this southern cadence, this slowness of, that slows down his, he's not slow, he's incredibly intelligent. He has a slower cadence in his speech, right? And if you think I'm wrong in that, Southerners talk just as fast as Yankees, I'm willing to hear it, but I don't think that's the case. And by the way, I lived in Savannah, Georgia for about, I'm not just talking out my yin yang here. Like it's definitely right. So that is, it's a slower cadence, in my humble opinion, right? So, oh, and I should say hoo ha, not yin yang. I don't think that's appropriate speech. So I'm not just talking out my butt here. That's a better way to say it. I'll back that language up. And there you go. All right. But I really think that Tim Scott is a great guy. I really like him, and I almost wish he was running in a different space. Like there was a different time where he could run, right? Because I feel bad for him, but he's a great person. I love Vivek Ramaswamy. I really do like Tim Scott. I very much recognize Nikki Haley as a true threat. Ron DeSantis, I think he's evaporating. Chris Christie should be gone already, and functionally he's gone. You won't be getting a Chris Christie video. Thank you for letting me share every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. What's important is when I get to hear your humble opinion. When you get in the comments and send your traffic, please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.